Welcome to Read Alchemy. It was Saturday morning and I had a very important job to do. My friend's birthday was that evening. A few days earlier, I had promised to make a birthday cake. Don't worry, I had told her. I can make a cake. At the time, I felt very confident. Now, standing in my kitchen, I wasn't so sure. I looked at the recipe on my phone. Flour, sugar, eggs, butter, milk, and a few other ingredients. I had bought everything the night before. At least I thought I had. I put the ingredients on the kitchen table and checked the recipe again. Okay, I said. Let's do this. A recipe is a set of instructions that tells you how to cook or make something. For example, this recipe is very easy. I found a good recipe for chocolate cake. An ingredient is one of the foods or things you need to make a dish. Flour is an ingredient in this cake. I started by putting the butter and sugar into a large bowl. Then I mixed them together. Next, I added the eggs. 1, 2, 3. Everything seemed fine. I added the flour slowly. Then I poured in the milk. The mixture looked smooth. I felt more confident. See, this isn't difficult. I continued following the recipe. I checked each step carefully. Then I noticed something. The recipe said I needed baking powder. I stopped. Baking powder. I looked at the kitchen table. I looked inside the cupboard. I opened another cupboard. Nothing. I checked the shopping bag. Still nothing. Oh no, I had forgotten the baking powder. For a moment, I didn't know what to do. I looked at the mixture. Maybe it would be okay without it. Maybe I could use something else. I quickly searched online. Some recipes said there were alternatives, but I didn't want to experiment too much. It was my friend's birthday. I wanted the cake to be good. Then I remembered that I had a small packet in another cupboard. I opened the cupboard above the refrigerator. There it was. Yes, I picked it up and checked the date. It was still good. I added the baking powder to the mixture. Then I mixed everything together. The mixture looked perfect. I poured it into a cake pan. A cake pan is a container used for baking a cake. I spread the mixture evenly. Then I put the pan into the oven. I checked the time. The recipe said to bake the cake for about 35 minutes. 35 minutes, that's easy. I set a timer. Then I cleaned the kitchen. While I was cleaning, I started imagining the birthday party. There would be music, there would be food, there would be friends, and hopefully there would be a beautiful cake. I looked through the oven window. The cake was slowly rising. It looked good, very good, I smiled. This might actually work. After about 20 minutes, the kitchen began to smell amazing. The smell of warm cake filled the room. I felt proud. I checked the timer. 10 minutes left. I decided to take a shower while I waited. When I came back, the timer was ringing. The cake was ready, or at least I thought it was. I opened the oven carefully. Hot air came out. I used oven gloves to take the cake pan out. Be careful, I told myself. I put the cake on the kitchen table. It looked golden on top. It smelled wonderful. I was excited. I picked up a knife. I wanted to check the middle before decorating it. I cut a small piece, then I stopped. I stared at the cake. Something didn't look right. The outside looked perfect, but the middle was strange, very strange. I touched it carefully. It was still soft. I looked at the clock. The birthday party was only a few hours away. I looked at the cake again. Then I looked at the recipe on my phone. And suddenly, I realized that I had made a serious mistake. Let's take a moment to notice some useful English from the story. Flour is a white powder used for making bread and cakes. Sugar is used to make food and drinks sweet. Butter is a soft food made from milk. Mix means to combine different things together. I mix the eggs and flour. Pour means to make a liquid flow from one container into another. Pour the milk into the bowl. Cupboard is a cabinet used for storing food, dishes, or other things. Bake means to cook food inside an oven. And oven gloves are thick gloves used to protect your hands from something hot. Now let's practice some useful expressions from the story. Let's do this. I have everything I need. I forgot something. Let me check. It's still good. This looks perfect. I'll put it in the oven. Let's see how it goes. Be careful. Something doesn't look right. Now shadow them naturally. Let's do this. I have everything I need. I forgot something. Let me check. It's still good. This looks perfect. I'll put it in the oven. Let's see how it goes. Be careful. Something doesn't look right. Good. And remember, these expressions aren't only for cooking. I forgot something. Let me check. Something doesn't look right. You can use them in many everyday situations. I looked at the cake again. The outside was golden. The smell was wonderful, but the middle was still soft. I checked the time. I didn't have much time left. The party was getting closer. And now I had a decision to make. Could I somehow save the cake, or would I have to start all over again? I picked up my phone and looked at the recipe one more time. And that's when I discovered exactly what had gone wrong. I looked at the recipe one more time, then I looked at the cake. I finally understood the problem. I had forgotten to let the oven heat properly before I put the cake inside. That's it, I said. That's why the middle is still soft. I felt terrible. I had followed almost every step correctly, but one small mistake had ruined the cake. I picked up the knife again and carefully cut into the middle. It was still wet. It wasn't ready to eat. I couldn't serve this at the birthday party. I looked at the clock. I had less than 2 hours. For a moment, I just stood there. What am I going to do? I had 2 choices. I could try to save this cake, or I could make another one. I looked at the cake. It didn't look completely terrible. Maybe I could put it back into the oven. I turned the oven on again and waited for it to get hot. Then I put the cake back inside. I set another timer. Please work this time. I hoped the extra time would be enough. While I waited, I started preparing the decorations. I had bought some chocolate, strawberries, and cream. The plan was simple. I wanted to cover the cake with cream and put strawberries on top. I took the strawberries out of the refrigerator. I washed them carefully. Then I cut them into small pieces. I put them on a plate. Everything was ready except the cake. I checked the oven. The cake was still inside. I checked the timer. 10 minutes left. I started cleaning the kitchen again. Then I heard a strange sound. Beep. The timer was finished. I quickly opened the oven. This time, the cake looked much better. I took it out carefully. I waited for a few minutes. Then I touched the middle. It was firm. Yes, I was relieved. Relieved means happy because something difficult or worrying has ended. For example, I was relieved when I found my keys. I was relieved when the cake was finally ready. I let the cake cool down. Cool down means to become less hot. You can say, let the cake cool down before you decorate it. While I waited, I prepared the cream. I opened the refrigerator. I reached for the cream, and then I stopped. The container was empty. I stared at it. No. I checked the refrigerator again. Maybe there was another one. Nothing. I checked the shopping bag. Nothing. I looked at the clock. 1 hour and 15 minutes until the party. I didn't have enough time to make another trip and start everything again. I needed a solution. A solution is an answer to a problem. For example, we have a problem. Let's find a solution. I thought for a moment. Then I remembered something. There was a small bakery near the supermarket. Maybe they sold ready-made cream. I grabbed my wallet and phone. I put on my shoes. Then I looked at the cake. Stay here, I said. I'll be back. I rushed out of the apartment. I walked quickly toward the supermarket. I was in a hurry, very much in a hurry. As I walked, I started thinking about the party. What if I didn't finish the cake? What if everyone arrived before me? What if the cake looked terrible? I tried to stay calm. One problem at a time, I told myself. That sentence helped. I only needed to solve the cream problem. Then I could go home and finish the cake. When I reached the supermarket, I walked inside. It was much busier than I expected. There were people everywhere. Some were shopping, some were waiting at the checkout. I looked around for the cream. I couldn't see it. I walked through the dairy section. Nothing. I checked another shelf. Nothing. I looked at my phone. Only 50 minutes left. I started feeling nervous again. Then I saw an employee. I walked toward him. "Excuse me." "Yes. Do you have fresh cream?" He pointed toward another section. "It's over there. Thank you." I walked quickly to the shelf. There were many products, but I couldn't find the cream. I looked carefully. Then I saw a small empty space. There was a sign above it, "Fresh cream," but there was no cream. I looked at the employee again. "Excuse me, I'm sorry. I can't find the cream." He walked over. He checked the shelf. Then he shook his head. "I'm sorry, we're out of it." I couldn't believe it. "We're out of it" means there is none left. For example, we're out of milk. We're out of bread. We're out of sugar. I looked at the empty shelf. Then I looked at my phone. 45 minutes. The cream was sold out. My cake was waiting at home, and the birthday party was getting closer. I needed another idea. I looked around the supermarket. Maybe I could use something else. Then I remembered a simple dessert I had made before. It didn't need fresh cream. I smiled. "Okay," I said to myself. "I have another plan." I picked up the ingredients I needed and hurried toward the checkout. I didn't know if my new plan would work, but at least I wasn't giving up. And with only 40 minutes left, I had to get home and finish the cake. I hurried toward the checkout with the ingredients in my hands. I kept looking at the time on my phone. 40 minutes. That was all I had. I joined the shortest line I could find. There were 3 people in front of me. I looked at the ingredients again. I had bought chocolate, some strawberries, and a packet of cream cheese. It wasn't the original plan, but I thought I could make something simple with them. The person in front of me finished paying. Then it was my turn. "Hi." "Hello." I put everything on the counter. The cashier scanned the items. "That will be $12. I paid quickly. "Thank you, you're welcome." I picked up my shopping bag and rushed outside. I was in a hurry, but I tried to stay calm. I had a plan now. It wasn't perfect, but it could work. As I walked home, I thought about the cake. The first cake had almost been a disaster. Then I had forgotten the cream. Then the supermarket was out of it. But I had found an alternative. An alternative is another choice or another way of doing something. For example, we don't have milk. Let's find an alternative. Can we use this as an alternative? That was exactly what I was doing. I was finding another way. When I reached my apartment, I opened the door quickly. The cake was still on the kitchen table. I looked at it. It had cooled down. The middle was firm now. I touched it carefully. It seemed ready. Good. I put the cake on a large plate. Then I started preparing the topping. I melted the chocolate. I spread it carefully over the top of the cake. Then I added the strawberries. It didn't look like the beautiful cake I had imagined. The chocolate wasn't perfectly smooth. The strawberries weren't arranged perfectly, but it looked good enough. I stepped back and looked at it. Not bad. Then I checked the time. 20 minutes. I still needed to get to the party. I put the cake into a box. I closed the box carefully. Then I picked up my bag. My phone, my wallet, my keys. Everything was ready. I looked at the cake one more time. I hoped it would survive the journey. The party was only 10 minutes away. I walked quickly. Then I heard my phone ringing. It was my friend. "Where are you?" "I'm on my way." "Are you bringing the cake?" "Yes." "Is everything okay?" I paused. "Well," she laughed. "What happened?" "It's a long story." "I want to hear it." "You'll hear it when I arrive." "Okay, see you soon." "See you." I put my phone away. Then I noticed something. The cake box was leaning to one side. I stopped walking. Oh no! I carefully opened the box. The chocolate had moved slightly. Some strawberries had fallen onto one side. The cake was still okay, but it wasn't exactly how I wanted it. I fixed the strawberries as best I could. Then I closed the box again. "Please stay like this," I said. I continued walking. When I arrived at the party, everyone was already there. Music was playing. People were talking and laughing. My friend saw me. You made it. Yes. She looked at the box in my hands. Is that the cake? I smiled. Yes. She opened the box. She looked at the cake. For a second, she didn't say anything. I became nervous. Then she smiled. You made this? Yes. It looks great. I laughed. Really? Of course. I looked at the cake. It wasn't perfect. The chocolate was a little messy. The strawberries were uneven, but it looked homemade, and my friend was happy. She hugged me. Thank you. That made everything worth it. Worth it means something was valuable or good enough because of the result. For example, the cake took a long time, but it was worth it. The trip was tiring, but it was worth it. I felt relieved. The disaster was over. At least I thought it was. Everyone gathered around the table. My friend put candles on the cake. Someone turned off the lights. Everyone started singing. I stood there and smiled. Then my friend blew out the candles. Everyone clapped. She picked up the knife. Let's cut the cake. I looked at the cake. This was the moment of truth. She cut the first piece. I waited. She took a bite. Then she smiled. It's really good. I couldn't believe it. I took a small piece myself. It was actually delicious. Not perfect, but delicious. Everyone enjoyed it. I finally relaxed. I sat down and laughed about the whole morning. The cake had gone wrong. The cream was sold out. I had to find another solution. And somehow, everything had worked out. Work out means to end successfully or have a good result. For example, I wasn't sure about the plan, but everything worked out. Don't worry, things will work out. I looked at my friend. Happy birthday. She smiled. Thank you for making the cake. I smiled back, and at that moment I realized something. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, you forget an ingredient, something doesn't work. A store doesn't have what you need, you run out of time. But that doesn't mean you should give up. Sometimes you just need to find another way. Let's look at some useful vocabulary from today's story. Alternative means another choice or another way. Checkout is the place where you pay in a store. Topping is food you put on top of another food. Lean means to move or rest at an angle instead of staying straight. Uneven means not equal or not arranged smoothly. Homemade means made at home instead of bought from a store. Worth it means something was good enough to justify the time, effort, or money. And workout means to end successfully. Now let's practice some useful expressions. I have another plan. Let's find an alternative. We're out of it. I'm in a hurry. I'll do my best. It should work. Don't worry. Everything will work out. It's worth it. Now shadow them naturally. I have another plan. Let's find an alternative. We're out of it. I'm in a hurry. I'll do my best. It should work. Don't worry. Everything will work out. It's worth it. Good. I looked at the empty cake box. There was only a little cake left. Everyone had enjoyed it. The disaster had turned into a success. But as I picked up my plate, my friend suddenly looked at me. Wait, what? She pointed at the kitchen. I think there's something you forgot. I looked toward the kitchen. My heart stopped for a second. What did I forget? She smiled, and I immediately knew. This birthday wasn't finished yet. My friend pointed toward the kitchen. I think there's something you forgot. I looked toward the kitchen. What did I forget? She started laughing. The candles. I looked at the table. She was right. I had brought the cake. I had remembered the ingredients. I had remembered the chocolate. I had remembered the strawberries, but I had completely forgotten the birthday candles. I laughed. Of course. My friend smiled. Don't worry, I have some. She opened a drawer and took out a small box of candles. You're lucky, I said. Very lucky. She put the candles on the cake. Everyone gathered around the table again. We turned off the lights. My friend closed her eyes and made a wish. Then she blew out the candles. Everyone clapped. This time, everything was finally going according to plan. I took a piece of cake. It tasted good, really good. I couldn't believe it. That morning, I had been standing in my kitchen looking at a cake that seemed completely ruined. A few hours later, Everyone was enjoying it. I looked at my friend. Honestly, I thought this cake was going to be a disaster. She laughed. It doesn't look like a disaster to me. I smiled. Maybe not anymore. A disaster is a situation where something goes very badly. For example, the party was a disaster. My first cake was almost a disaster. But sometimes a disaster doesn't have to stay a disaster. You can make changes. You can try again. You can find another solution. And that's exactly what I had done. I thought about all the things that had gone wrong. First, I forgot the baking powder. Then I didn't heat the oven properly. The middle of the cake was still soft. Then I discovered that I didn't have any fresh cream. I rushed to the supermarket. The cream was sold out, so I found an alternative. Then, on the way to the party, the cake moved inside the box. And finally, I forgot the candles. I counted all the problems in my head. There were a lot, but none of them had stopped me. That was the most important part. I hadn't given up. Give up means to stop trying because something is difficult. For example, don't give up. I wanted to give up, but I tried again. That's a very useful expression in English. You can use it when you're learning something difficult. Maybe you're learning English. Maybe you don't understand a sentence. Maybe you make the same mistake several times. You might feel frustrated, but you don't have to give up. You can try again. You can find another way. You can ask for help. That's what I did with the cake. I didn't make a perfect cake, but I solved each problem one by one. After the party, I helped clean the kitchen. We put the plates in the sink. We collected the empty cups. Someone turned off the music. Everyone was getting ready to go home. My friend came over to me. "Thank you again for the cake." "You're welcome. I really liked it." "I'm glad." She smiled. "And I liked that you made it yourself." That made me happy. Sometimes homemade things aren't perfect. They can look a little messy. They can be different from things you buy in a shop, but they can have something special about them. I looked at the last piece of cake on the table. The chocolate was uneven. The strawberries weren't perfectly arranged, but it had been made with effort, and my friend had enjoyed it. So, in the end, it was a success. Before I left, my friend gave me a small piece of cake to take home. "Here, for tomorrow." I laughed. "Thank you." I put it carefully into a container. Then I picked up my bag. "See you tomorrow." "See you." I walked home feeling tired but happy. On the way, I thought about the whole experience. The cake hadn't gone according to plan, but maybe that was the best part. If everything had gone perfectly, I wouldn't have learned anything new. I wouldn't have learned how to find an alternative. I wouldn't have learned how to stay calm. And I wouldn't have learned that a mistake doesn't always mean failure. Failure means not achieving what you wanted to achieve. But one mistake is not always a failure. Sometimes it's simply part of learning. And that is true for English too. You might forget a word. You might use the wrong grammar. You might pronounce something incorrectly. That's okay. Don't give up. Try again. Find another way to explain yourself. Keep going. Let's look back at some useful vocabulary from our story. Disaster, a situation that goes very badly. Candle, a small stick of wax that you light, often used on birthday cakes. Wish, something you hope will happen. Give up, stop trying. Failure, not achieving the result you wanted. Effort, the energy or work you put into doing something. Messy, not neat or organized. Success, achieving a good result. And go according to plan means something happens in the way you expected. Now let's bring the useful expressions from our story together. I forgot something. Something went wrong. What should I do? I need a solution. Let's find an alternative. We're out of it. I'm in a hurry. I'll do my best. Don't give up. Everything will work out. It was worth it. Now shadow them naturally. I forgot something. Something went wrong. What should I do? I need a solution. Let's find an alternative. We're out of it. I'm in a hurry. I'll do my best. Don't give up. Everything will work out. It was worth it. Excellent. Think about the whole story now. I wanted to make a birthday cake. I thought it would be easy. Then things started going wrong. I made mistakes. I ran out of time. I couldn't find an important ingredient. I had to change my plan, but I kept going. And in the end, everyone enjoyed the cake. The cake wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be made with care. And sometimes your English won't be perfect either. You might make mistakes. You might forget a word. You might need to say something in a simpler way. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication. Keep trying, keep learning, and don't give up. Because sometimes, what starts as a disaster can become a story you remember for a long time. And of course, next time I make a birthday cake, I'm buying the candles first.